No riser? No problem. Welcome to Wayne Manor North. Hey guys, welcome back here to the study at Wayne Manor North. I am Dan, your host, and I appreciate you being with me here today for this relatively short video where I'm going to take you through a how-to based on some comments that I received last weekend. You see, last weekend I posted a few pics of a riser that I put together for this statue that you see here, the Dark Knight from Queen Studios in 1/3 scale. Like many of you, I think, and certainly from the comments I've received, a lot of us wanted to pair him with the Prime 1 Joker that you see here next to him, but there's a little bit of a discrepancy. Good news is the scale is perfect. So 1/3 for 1/3, I think they match up extremely well. And that was a big question mark in my mind as to whether or not to go with the Prime 1 Studio 1/3 Batman or this one. Quite frankly, I like the base on this one a bit better. I just felt like it matched up a bit better with the Joker. So I went with it. Bad news is the Joker's base is just over 6 inches tall, just the base alone. Batman's base is only just over 2 inches tall. So you see that puts us in this little bit of a dilemma where the Batman is too much shorter than the Joker, at least in my opinion. For me, in my display, I want to display him with Suicide Squad Harley, and I wanted the Batman to kind of be the prominent figure, as I think a lot of us would, in the middle of the display. So I took it upon myself to build a little bit of a riser, a custom riser that I felt matched the quality of the display and didn't distract from it. So let's get into that now. Okay guys, so you can see in these pics, the first thing I wanted to show you before we jump into the riser itself was a couple of pics here of kind of the natural state, right? So based on just the bases alone of these two pieces, kind of how they look next to each other. And you can see that where there'd be question marks about scale, because quite honestly, it's difficult to tell given the discrepancy in the height of the bases. So here they said, as I said, Batman's just over 2 inches, Joker's just over 6. And not only that, but Joker's is much more substantial in terms of design and concept and story, etc. And it just kind of overshadows, quite frankly, even what I think is a basic and very cool base on the Dark Knight. I just don't think they match up well. So I just wanted to show you kind of how these look before we get into the riser and how that looks. Okay, so let's get into the riser. And as I mentioned, this was a do-it-yourself project for me. I really wanted something that complemented the Dark Knight statue, didn't take away from it, wasn't too over the top, but thematically kind of matched. So got my creative juices flowing, and this is what I came up with. As many of you know, and I do promise, there is a room tour in the works. It's actually, some of it's already been shot. So that is in the works. But as you know, some of you know, in my collecting room here, all around me, including this small display here, I use kind of this industrial theme where I have malleable black pipe plumbing tubing that I picked up at my local Home Depot. I use 3/4 inch birch. There's a how-to video on how to build these very, very strong, cool shelves for a Batman collection, I think, that I put together for Chris. That was over a year ago now, but if you look in the how-to playlist here on the Batman Statue Collector channel, you can find that video on the shelves. So I wanted to kind of tie that into the base as well. So what you see here is essentially a plywood box. So I use 3/4 inch birch plywood, the same really heavy duty stock that I used on the shelf. So it's a little bit even overkill to build a basic box. And if we look at the size of the box, it is about 11.5 inches long by 5 inches square. So it's a pretty sizable piece and actually quite heavy. I don't know what it weighs, but I have to tell you, it's at least probably 3 or 4 pounds. So that's kind of the basic support for the base. Now, you may not realize that the base for the Batman himself is only about 12 or 13 inches wide. So this actually, from a width standpoint, basically covers the entire width. One of the other challenges with building a riser for this piece, and some of us have built one, and I know Chris, the Batman statue collector himself, has built an elegant, very sophisticated, yet somewhat complex riser for his that I would absolutely suggest that you check out. It's really, really cool. It's Harley Quinn themed. But yeah, check that out. But anyway, so this makes up the bulk of the base. The bulk of the weight on that statue lies on this, but there's a little bit of a challenge. This base actually kind of comes somewhat, not to a point, but it actually kind of tapers forward, like toward a point. And so although it's a cool design, it kind of makes it a little difficult to just use a box to raise it up. So what I did, I came up with this. So this is a pipe and flange design that I use in my shelves that holds up the nose. So one thing that you have, this basically actually goes this way. So you have this screwed into a flange on the bottom of the shelf that you probably can see here behind me. And then the nose of the statue rests on the flange here. And between the two of these, they more than support the pipe. So if we get back into how I made the box and what I put into it, as I said, it's a 5x5 by 12 inch long box. I put a couple of, I think I used 4-inch square plywood blocks on the sides. I have a nail gun, a pneumatic nail gun that I use to nail these on, but you could screw them on, glue them on, whatever you like. So I attached these on the sides, again, just to give it some dimension, some depth. And as you see here on the front, again, to tie in thematically, I wanted to use silver, and I want to use a little bit of gold. Also ties into the Batman base, his belt, etc. So I just picked up some plumbing parts at the plumbing store. The two 90-degree pipes on the ends, those cost me about $3. And then these gold fittings, also 90-degree, cost I think about $3 for the 3 of them. Very inexpensive. And then these are galvanized steel 2x4 connectors that you would use in building a deck. I think they were 75 cents a piece. And so what I did was I glued the galvanized pieces on, and this is all just for dimension and all just for aesthetic, right? So this is all just decorative, although these pieces probably give it some stability on the ends. But I glued those pieces on, I spray painted the whole thing black, let it sit overnight, and then I used JW Weld. It's a really good 2-part epoxy that you push it through a single syringe. Again, you find it at Home Depot, I think it's $6. And I used that 2-part epoxy to glue these pipes on. No problem, let it sit for an hour and you'd be hard pressed to take them off at this point. Glued those on. And then as you can see on the bottom, in the top, I just bought some black felt at my local Walmart for 39 cents a sheet. Covered it in felt so it protects the statue. It sits comfortably on my shelf without doing any damage to the shelf. And that's it. And then this little piece that I use on the front, this is 3/4 inch black malleable piping. This is a 3.5 inch flange that screws right on there, so you can adjust this from a height standpoint. I also put a piece of felt on that to, again, protect the base on the underside because, once again, it sits like that. And that's all there is to it. And I think it came out really cool. I'm going to show you some more pics here in a second. But I love the way it looks. It doesn't distract from the statue. It's not overpowering, but I think the aesthetic is cool and better than just putting like an acrylic riser or something like that. Nothing wrong with that. I just wanted something where this is kind of a focal point in my collection and one of my favorite Batman. I really wanted something a little cooler. So here, I'll give you some close-up pics and we'll see you on the way out. Okay guys, so that's gonna wrap us up here for this very short video, this how-to on how to think about, at least get the creative juices flowing, a riser for your Dark Knight Rises statue and how you might best pair him with Prime 1's Joker 1/3 scale. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope the build is pretty straightforward. I think it was. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me through the Batman Statue Collector Facebook group. You can PM me. You can email me. So I think a lot of you already know me, so reach out to me in any way you like. I'm happy to help you with the riser if you have any questions or on anything else. So that's going to do it for today, guys. I really appreciate your coming by. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. As Chris says, I think only about half of the viewers are subscribed to the channel right now, maybe a little bit more. But please subscribe. It really does the channel a lot of good. It helps other viewers like yourself find this content. And I know Chris appreciates it, as do the rest of us who participate in the channel. So please do those things. Appreciate you coming by the manor this afternoon. And we'll see you again real soon. Take care, guys.